we hack the code and flip the tag. Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet. Hey.
Hello, and welcome to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I'm your host, Kim Miller-Hershon. I am so excited to be here today with Melina Mattos. I'm going to give you her bio here. And can I just say, this is going to be a fabulous conversation. She's the CEO of Alchemy Imports and the founder of BRABO. It is, and actually, look at this. I'm actually going to show you. It's a brand dedicated to celebrating the rich heritage of Brazilian spirits with a passion for cachaça and craft cocktails. Melina educates audiences about the history, culture, and artistry behind Brazil's iconic liquors. As an entrepreneur and industry leader, she shares insights on building a brand, navigating the beverage industry, and bringing authentic Brazilian flavors to the global market. Welcome.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you so
Yeah,
much. So
I
I'm so glad to be here.
yeah, and we had such a great pre-interview and conversation before we started this. I'm just excited for our conversation. And like I said, this is what we're talking about. So excited about that too. All right. So let's start. I always ask a random question. And so my random question for you is tell us about how you started going to raves and kind of what that experience is for you and does for you.
My history with raves is actually not that long. It's very short, but I'm a very intense person. So I went all in. So about 2 years ago, I was in my kitchen cooking and I was just a normal, common person doing a normal, common thing. And then I heard a voice deep inside of me saying, "You need to go to Tomorrowland." So I picked up my phone and I researched what's Tomorrowland. I didn't even know what it was. And then I
Wow.
found out it was one of the biggest rave festivals in the world, and it was in Belgium. And I was just gonna happen to be in Europe when that event was gonna happen. So I said, you know what? I'll go to it. Why not? So I went to Tomorrowland by myself. And then when I got there, I started feeling this thing that I couldn't explain. And I kept questioning myself, what is this? What is this? What is this? And then I had a click. It's energy. What I'm feeling, 400,000 people dancing together in one commonality creates this enormous sense of energy. So in that moment, I started dancing with my eyes closed, and I didn't understand until way later. I got into a moment of a trance state, is what we call trance. And with my eyes closed, I had a vision. It's like I saw something, I saw things I've never seen before. And when I opened my eyes, I said, how was that possible? And from that moment on, every time I went to a rave, I just started seeing things again and again, and my vision started getting better and better. And then I started seeing things from the past, from the future, things that were going to happen. My intuition started to be developed. My people skills started to get better. And I felt like every time I went to a rave, I got better as a person altogether. And over time, I started to help people as well with the things I was learning through raves. I was passing on to others, and we slowly started creating this community of ravers that rave with God, is what we
Mm.
say. What do I get with that? I know it's a long answer and it's a crazy one, but I became better as a person after I started going to raves, and so did other people as well, if that makes any sense to you.
Sure. Wow, that is really quite a story. And I think some of that, I'm sure, just in terms of being a better person or wiser or whatever it is, I think will come out as we talk about your leadership in your company and your leadership really in an industry that is very male dominated, right?
Very much. Only 33% of it has women, and only 8% of women are business owner in the alcohol industry.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's kind of get into some of the sort of unconventional wisdom, right? So it's really like a perfect story, right? Because it's unconventional and yet it's so meaningful for you and for who you are as a person. And like I said, I'm sure that it spills over into how you lead and all those things. So tell us what's one piece of conventional business wisdom you followed early on, only to realize that it really was not right for you.
I think the one that I follow and I think everybody follows is fake it until you make it, right? Everybody teaches us that fake it until you make it. And I did that for a long time. And then over time, I realized that people respect a lot more the truth when authentic and humble than a lie and an ego that doesn't even exist. And nowadays, with all the social media thing, everybody has such a big ego. Everybody's trying to play a role. And instead of them finding themselves, they're creating themselves and they're creating these personas. And you can't sustain that forever. You can't sustain somebody you're not forever. So over time, I found out that I'm crazy. I'm outside of the box. I think people say you're totally out of the curve, and it's okay. And that's what made me the entrepreneur that I am today, creating the brand that I'm creating today, creating the company I'm creating today. If I had followed that conventional wisdom, which was just fake, you got your stuff together, I don't think I would be here right now.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Was your experience like growing up? Did you think of yourself as being different or were you always trying to fit in?
When I was little, I knew I was different. And then when I got to the teenager phase, it's like boys don't like a girl that's stronger than them, that lifts more weights than them, that it's faster than them. In high school, if you're acting this way, you're kind of weird. So then that's when I felt teenagers is when I felt like I need to fit in. And that's when I started becoming anxious. That's when I started getting insecure. I started loathing myself. I had a lot of self loathe growing up because I was trying to fit in. I grew up a very conservative Christian and I'm crazy and I'm trying to become this, oh, because the Lord Jesus Christ loves you. And I'm not like that. I'm hardcore. I have a lot of male energy into me, and that comes the grind into the business, right? My feminine energy is left for my partner. But in the male dominant industry, my female and my male are equal. They have a force, right? They have a drive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I tried to fit in for a very long time and I was depressed. I could not. And finally, when I got into raving and I found myself in it, and I had the courage to say, you know what? I'm just gonna be me, and whoever doesn't like it, that's what it is, then fine. I was even going to tell you a story about the fake it until you make it. When I first started becoming a successful entrepreneur, I had a meeting at a Michelin, three Michelin star restaurant in New York City. The restaurant is Per Se. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a very famous restaurant. And I came from a very humble background. That was my first Michelin star restaurant in my life. And I was there for a meeting. And they came with a box of truffles. And it's like these black little things, right? And I smelled that. I was like, they smell very earthy, right? And then the server said, "Oh, would you like some in your risotto?" And I said, "How interesting. Risotto with chocolate." Everybody at the table started laughing. Everyone. And I'm like, why y'all laughing? And they're like, Melina, that's a mushroom. That's not chocolate truffles. And I was like, oh, I thought it was like dark chocolate truffles. And everybody's dying laughing. So then I go back to my company and I tell one of my employees the story. And he said, I cannot believe you just did that. You should have just pretended you knew what it was.
Ah,
And I told him, but that's the problem right there. You know how I won that room, I won that table, was by me being me, by me showing them I do not know what it is and it's okay. Yeah,
so you bring up such an interesting point because I do agree with you. So often it's about how you frame it for yourself, right? So you could have shown up, said the exact same story, but your experience of yourself afterwards could have been, oh my God, I'm just going to dig a hole and just bury myself in it, right?
yeah,
And your response is, yeah, I didn't know what it was, right? I came from humble background. We didn't eat truffles. You can trust me. We didn't eat
mm,
truffles. So I have no context for this. Like, how lucky for me that I now got to have this experience, right? But
exactly,
and I think so many people are more the I want to die a thousand deaths because I'm embarrassed, right? You're
exactly.
like,
I think it's people take it personally, right? And who cares if you don't know something? Who knows everything in this world?
hey,
And I think once we kill our ego and we just come out authentically ourselves, no one can hurt us. Like, no one
there
can
you
hurt you.
go. Oh my gosh, that is such a good point. I agree with you 100% because having the experience of being like embarrassed or ashamed or whatever those feelings are, you're exactly right. You have just given your power to somebody else, right? Because
Exactly.
now they own you, right?
Exactly. It's in settings like this where really high performance business people they test each other out. Let me see if I can throw you under the table. Let me see if I can embarrass you. Let me see how you're going to react when this or that happens. And if you have emotional intelligence, you're going to be able to navigate these things,
Mhm.
right? But a person that doesn't have emotional intelligence, which is super important in business, even more than having high IQ, is having high emotional intelligence as an entrepreneur is key.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, and I apologize because I don't know what the reference is because somebody told it to me. I think she was listening to a podcast, and if I can find it, we'll put it in the show notes, but I think it's worth saying nonetheless, which is that women, successful business women and entrepreneurs are very good at supporting each other when there are challenges and the chips are down. They are not as good at supporting each other when they're flying. Oh my God, Melina, something is wrong. Let me help you. What can I do? Right? But you just had the best year ever, right? And am
Hmm.
I there to celebrate with you, right? And not make it about me, right?
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I personally, this is actually such a wild thing. So I don't know that I've ever said this on the show before, but I have three kids and I have twins. So I have twin
Wow.
girls.
Wow.
And I made a decision when they were infants before they knew that it was going to be so important that they were going to be have different accomplishments and different things, but they would always be compared to each other because they're twins, right?
They're twins.
And I made a very conscious decision very early on that we were going to celebrate everybody's accomplishments, right?
I love that.
And that was a good decision. And not all my
Yeah.
decisions were good, but that was a good one.
Happy late Mother's Day. It was yesterday,
Ah,
so
yeah. Thank you. All right. So, as we've said, you've already achieved a lot, and I know you're really growing your brand as well. What is one thing that people assume, like, she's got that? And you're like, "Ooh, I'm still working on that."
I think something everybody assumes is I know where I'm going.
All right. Say more about
Which
that.
I think as the leader, everybody always assumes, oh no, let's follow her because she knows where she's heading. And I think what makes a leader is not necessarily that they know the direction, but it's that they're able to make a decision when no one is able to make a decision, right? Like
Mm.
when you have all the options of all these different paths you can take, and a leader is just able to say, no, let's go this route because I feel something inside me tells me it's the right way to go,
Mhm.
right? So it's not based on even knowledge, it's based on intuition. It's being able to
Uh-huh.
listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, being in tune with yourself and with your company, the vision and the mission of your companies, and say, we're going to go this way. I just need you guys to trust me. And then on the way, if you feel like a leader, that's not the way. It's being humble enough to say, guys, I made a mistake. I need us to get together and go the other direction. Everybody together. And that's being a leader. It's being able also to recognize your flaws and your mistakes and when you're going the wrong way, which most of them don't do. And they would much rather let the company burn down than admit that they made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, that is so true. And I think I like the frame of feminine and masculine energy, right? It's knowing, not that, and listen, we're strong women. I think setting direction, that's not your masculine, right? That is
Mm-hmm.
being a strong woman leader. But I've talked many times on this podcast about my disagreement with this idea of servant leadership because I think so often it is misinterpreted as I am here to support everybody else. I'm like, who's running the show here? Right? Who's making the decisions? Right? And yet, I think it is super important to be able to also be like, made a mistake, right? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't working and we are, and maybe it's a let's get all of our heads together, give me ideas, input, analysis, evaluation, whatever it is. Okay, now we're going here.
Yeah, I like the point that you brought about servant leadership too. I've have experience in both, Kim. So I came from a church background, like I told you, and so I started selling things when I was 5 years old, and then I started going to church since I was born. So both of them grew together. My entrepreneurship and my servitude in the church walked together, right? And then when I was about 16 years old, I became leader of a church of like teenagers. And by the time I was 19, my group was over 300 people. And these are free workers, right? These are like teenagers that are literally working for free for nothing because of the leadership that I was serving and also because of what they believed. So I got trained to first be a leader and then be a boss. So when I became an entrepreneur, I brought all these leadership skills from a church setting to business, and it didn't work out. You would expect, okay, I got people to work for me for free. People are going to love me if I'm paying them. And it was not the same case. People were stepping all over me. They thought they were my peers. They thought they were better than me in the company because I was serving them. I was like, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to give you all the tools that you need to do the best job possible, which is true. That is very important. But you also need to be a boss. There needs to be the feminine and masculine energy, I guess you could say that. I can't just be that church leader that is serving everyone. I also need to say, guys, we need to go this direction. And I need you guys to come at 8 a.m. to work.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, so interesting. All right. So, if you could rewrite the rule book on leadership, what's one outdated belief that you would throw out immediately and what would you replace it with?
I think that an old concept that people had is that knowledge is everything, right? That we need to know more, we need to study more, go to school, which is all very important. But right now, we're living an era where we got unlimited knowledge, right? Go to ChatGPT and ask them anything. Who's gonna know more about anything? ChatGPT or our brain? So I don't think we're living the era anymore where knowledge is the key. I think intuition is the key because
Mhm.
ChatGPT is not going to have intuition. AI is not going to have intuition. But us as humans, we do, and we will forever. You have kids, your kids, they say, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna go to my friend's house." And your intuition is, "Come on, what friend are you going to?" You know? And they're like, "The friend I told you about this and that." And your intuition is, "I don't think so." If we were a robot and they said, "I'm going to your friend's house," all they would say is, "Okay, I'll see you soon." So now that we're living in this era of technology, the wisdom that I would remove and I would replace is intuition over knowledge.
Yeah, and I think it is an interesting thing, right? Because at the end of the day, you're selling a product, right? You're getting it into, would we, I'm going to show it again. Would we find this in a liquor store as well as like a cocktail in a restaurant?
Yes, right now we're distributing in 44 states in the country online, but if you want to find it in a bar or a restaurant or a hotel, right now our hub is in Miami, is more in South Florida.
Okay.
So we have in our website the list of all the bars and restaurants that you can currently find BRABO. And for a lot of people that don't know, BRABO is a cachaça. Cachaça is an alcohol made in Brazil. Just like for you to make tequila, you need to make it in Mexico. For you to make cachaça, you need to make it in Brazil. It's 100% sugarcane. Unlike other cachaças, we are artisanal. We're not industrialized. Most cachaças that you're gonna find in the country, in the world, are industrialized, and it's just not good quality. It kind of tastes like moonshine, to be honest with you, but not Bravo. Bravo
Yeah.
is artisanal. We store it in Amburano wood, which is a Brazilian oak, and that's why it has this cinnamon tones. Which, by the way, what did you think? You say you tried. What did
Yeah,
you think?
it's interesting that you say that it's artisanal because it's very smooth, right?
Thank you.
So I think the flavor is actually fairly complex and it's very smooth. And I just drank it by itself, but and it's very like you don't need a ton of it and you just sip it, right? It's
Mhm.
lovely. And I could also imagine that it would be great in a cocktail too.
And you were into bourbons, what you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how would you compare that to a bourbon?
I would say that, like you said, the notes are a little bit different, right? The flavor profile, I think, is a little bit different than bourbon, right? And in a lot of ways, this is, I think, a bit smoother than bourbon, right? Bourbon can be very sharp because it's so high proof and it takes a while to be able. So that's why a lot of people don't drink bourbon because they take one sip and it just, the alcohol just
Mm-hmm.
assaults you. And you have to take more than one sip really to be able to
Yeah.
really fully appreciate. This is much smoother, I think, than
Thank you.
yeah, than a bourbon, right? It doesn't have that same sharpness. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
like the
very
acidity,
yeah,
the
exactly.
acidity, low acidity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
low acidity. Yeah. It's got a lovely that cinnamon flavor. And like I said, especially if you like spirits, it's very smooth, I thought.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
know what's the percentage of alcohol in a bourbon?
Yeah, it's usually like 48, like 50. It's like it's
Mm.
typically bourbon is going to be 90 to 100 and something proof. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
yeah.
Bravo is 40%. 40% alcohol, like a tequila,
Yeah.
which is pretty high too,
Yeah, pretty high.
40%.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the when we Bravo, we purposely made low acidic because in the process of distillation, when you're distilling Bravo, what we do is we remove the beginning of the distillation and we remove the end of it, which is diesel. Just the beginning of it and the end is you can actually use to fuel your car. And most cachaças, industrialized cachaça, actually pretty much all industrialized cachaças, they keep that in their product. But we remove it, so we remove the head and the tail, and we keep just the heart.
Oh, I love that.
The best part of the distillation, and then we store it in Alborano wood for 6 months, Brazilian oak, and then we filter out all the impurities, leaving it super smooth. And that's why you don't even need a lime to take shots or anything like that. All you need is BRABO.
Yeah, there you go. So, what's one unconventional habit or mindset shift that you think has helped you grow the business?
Going with the flow, believe it or not.
Okay.
As a business owner, we want to control everything. Like most business owners, there's control freaks. Everything needs to be their way, and that kills so much growth. Instead of you trusting your gut, trusting your team. If you're doing a good job selecting your team, you shouldn't be worried if they're making the right decisions, right? If you train them to know the business, you
Huh.
should trust that they are going to do the right thing. So it's going with the flow, giving your team space to breathe and work on their own, knowing that not all best ideas come from you, that a lot of people in your team that are highly talented are going to have better ideas than you, and taking them, right? So I
Right.
would say go with the flow.
Yeah. All right. So, tell us for a minute, what was your path to owning this business?
When you say path, like why did I choose the
Well, yeah,
business?
okay. You've been entrepreneurial, you've been selling things your whole life. Did you start somewhere else? How did you get interested in cachaça? How did
Cachaça,
you get
yes.
interested in that in particular?
So remember I told you that I see things like I have visions. So I was in the beach having a caipirinha, and then all of a sudden, boom, I saw cachaça. And I was never a big cachaça person. I was more a vodka and gin. But I was having a caipirinha in Copacabana, and I just had a vision. And that vision struck me and it kept bothering me, it kept coming back over and over again. And I'm like, this is not a coincidence. There's something here. So then I started to do my research and I found out that cachaça had a 50% increase in the US market in the last year alone. This is back 4 years ago. So I said, okay, maybe this thing is on a rise. And if I don't get in this wave, I'm gonna regret this for the rest of my life. And that's
Mm,
exactly it. Cachaça just keeps growing more and more every year. And I feel like one of my life's mission right now is to be a spokesperson for the spirit and to help Brazil to make this spirit the next spirit of choice in the world. Brabo being the front house, of course, but I really believe that cachaça will be the next vodka, the next bourbon, the next tequila in the world.
I love that. This is a kind of an interesting question for you, right? If so, the context of the question is many leaders secretly battle with imposter syndrome, right? A lack of confidence, a trigger by something else that somebody does or they see. So, if that's going to happen to you, what's the circumstance where it's going to happen? And how do you get yourself back moving forward?
Oh, that's a good one. So I think it happens when I remember where I came from. Like I came from São Gonçalo, Rio de Janeiro. It's a very poor, very dangerous neighborhood in Rio. I got robbed in my street 3 times growing up. My street, like in front of my house. I would run to school and run out of school every single day, afraid of getting robbed. I'll go to nightclubs with my best friend, taking the bus, because in Brazil you can go to nightclubs when you're like 16 years old. But I started going when I was like 18. And as soon as we would leave the bus, I would take off my heels. My best friend and I will take off our heels and we'll just run to my house. And then as soon as we'll get inside of the gate, we'll lock the gate and we're like, okay, we're safe. So that's how dangerous it was. And every time that I think of São Gonçalo, where I came from, it comes that insecurity of what am I thinking? I'm not big enough for this. I'm not good enough for this. And that messes up my brain. right? It's just like today I'm fit and I'm healthy, but when I remember that I used to be obese and I lost over 60 pounds. And I remember that I'm like, I'm not really this fit person. It's a lie, right? So every time that I feel my brain getting there, my trick is I focus on the present moment. I bring myself back to the present moment. I silence my thoughts. I take a deep breath and I just reset. We're looking from here forward. What happened in the back just gave me the strength to become who I am. But the focus is
Right.
here forward. Melina, here forward, here forward. So maybe that's the tip that I got to give to anybody that's listening to this. Every time you start looking back at your past or your mistakes, where you came from, and you start sabotaging yourself, saying, you're not really this amazing person that you are today, just stop. We all have the power to get better and to keep moving forward. Nobody's born ready, and the future is all we have.
There, oh my gosh, no wiser words I think have ever been said, right? The future is all we have, right? Which doesn't mean that your past does shape you, right?
Yes.
And sometimes really bad things happen, right?
Yes.
So it's not denying your past, but you are exactly right. The only thing we have is our future, right? And the only power we have is in how we tell our story to ourselves, right?
Exactly.
And how we contextualize those things. And I really, obviously, it very much, what you're saying very much resonates with me. And I just want to say, we're not being insensitive to the hardships that people have, right?
Yes.
Because those are real. And
Yes.
you have to deal with that stuff. But if you are always looking in the past, that is actually your future is that, right?
Exactly.
And the only way to have a different future is to create it.
I posted about this yesterday on Instagram. I said, everything you focus on expands. If I put my hand here, you're focusing my hand. My hand's bigger than my body right now. So everything you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on your traumas, on your problems, on your insecurities, what you can do, your fears, that's going to be a reality. But if you're focusing on your talents, you're focusing on your dreams, the possibilities that this world can open up for you, if you're focusing on who you want to become and your loved ones and how much you love yourself, that's going to expand as well. Whatever we choose to focus on is what our reality is going to be.
And here is the thing, you don't have to do it alone, right? There are
Yes.
lots and lots of people out there that can help you and support you. And one thing I would say to you as a listener is, if those people don't exist in your life, then you need to find them, right?
Yes.
You need to send some text messages that say, thank you so much for being a part of my life. Appreciate it. And you won't be hearing from me again. It's really interesting because oftentimes I will have clients who keep going back to the well. Your family doesn't support, they love you and they're your family, but they don't support your growth, right? So, why do you keep, and I'm not saying you can't have a relationship with your family, but what I am saying is, why do you keep going back to them and talking about your accomplishments when you know that they're just going to smack you down, right? Love them for who they are, and don't keep asking them to give you something that you know that they are not going to give you, right? It doesn't make sense for you to be in relationship with them. But if you are, then for God's sakes, believe them when they tell you who they are, right?
Yes. The first time.
Now, isn't that an incredible lesson to learn? How many times
Hmm.
do they have to show you who they are before you believe them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that hurts, but that's the thing. you didn't choose your family, but you can choose your friends and you can
That's right.
choose the other people that are around you. To the listener, find people that are going to challenge you, yes, but are also going to accept you for who you are, and they're going to love you for who you are
That's
and the
right.
dreams that you have for yourself.
That's right. And they are the people, right? The closest people by you should be the people that are like, you go, girl, right? You had the best year ever. Doesn't matter what kind of year I had. I am so proud of you. And like, how incredible that you're doing this. Because guess what? In that moment, it has nothing to do with you, right? So,
That's
whatever
right.
your struggles, whatever your challenges, whether you had a fabulous year or not, that isn't what this conversation is about
I
in
think
this
also
moment.
a lot of people react like that because I think they're insecure themselves. So they feel like it's a competition.
That's
Oh,
right.
oh wait, you had a fabulous year. I need to have a fabulous year too. Or that means that she's better than me. When really it's somebody's success has nothing to do with the other person's success.
That's
Each on
right.
its own.
That's right.
So
And then how amazing is it to surround yourself with people who are unbelievably successful, right?
yes.
You'll get there.
Yes.
You'll
Yes.
get
That's
there,
right. Because you're
right?
the average of the five people you hang out with the most. So if you're
That's
hanging out
right.
with only successful people, what are the chances you're going to be successful too? A lot higher.
A lot higher.
And
That's right.
one pulls the other up.
Exactly. And so it is so important. Listener, I just can't even tell you, right? I know that one of the hardest things to do is to change friend groups, right? Or change the people who are around you. I got to tell you though, you want to change your story about who you are, you've got to have people around you that are healthy. You've got to have people around you that can lift themselves up. Forget about lifting you up. They've got to be able to lift themselves up. It's sort of like the put on your
Yes.
oxygen mask first, right?
So I'll tell you, Kim, the way that I was able to recycle, and I was having a conversation with a friend about this recently too, the friends that I had, because for example, I came from a poor place, right? All of my friends from back then, today they're still poor. They they live in very, very poor, Kim, and they're all still friends with each other. The same group friend is still the same group friend. I was me and one other the only ones that we are not that we got out. We're still friends with them, but we no longer have a close relationship. So I've recycled friends many times through my lifetime, and some people even make fun of me because of that. They're like, you always have a new best friend. But I still keep contact with everybody from the past. It's not like I stopped talking to them, but I do keep recycling them. And the way that I do it is I walk alone. I do a lot of things alone. I spend a lot of time alone. And in this alone time is where I'm able to work on myself, increase my energy, and find people in higher energy as well, higher frequency. So when I spend time by myself and I study, I go to the gym, I eat healthy, I read books, I work on my spirituality. Every time I keep doing that, my energy keeps going higher, my frequency keeps getting higher. And then, boom, I find people that are in the same frequency as me.
There you
And then I
go.
go to my alone time again, work on myself, boom, find better friends. Work on myself, boom, find better friends. But most people don't want to be alone, right? People
Yeah.
don't like being alone. So they would
Yeah.
rather be with toxic friendships or toxic relationship forever than being alone. But
Yeah.
being alone is very important to growth.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know what? This has been a fabulous conversation. I think really unconventional, different, right? You're such an interesting leader and the way that you think. And I think what I really want to say to the listener and a successful entrepreneur, right? Which is the
Thank you, Kim.
whole point of this podcast, which is there are lots of ways to be successful. Oh, wait. And you know what? I just happen to have my hat here. So I'm a BRABO fan, advocate. Go on the website, you can order it, go find it, support the company and what they're doing aside from just the alcohol. But I think the brand itself is very cool. And I know we're going to hear more from you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You have been listening to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I'm your host, Kim Miller-Hershon, with Melina Mattos. Join us next time. We will have the website in the show notes so that you can get your own beautiful bottle. And then for me, I would just love you to subscribe to my newsletter. And that will be down there. We do it once a week. It's got great tips and then it's got an action for you to take. So it's definitely meant to propel you forward. And I would be honored and privileged to have you a part of that community. Go out there, friend, and be a better human.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Where cliches come to retire. Drop that beat, turn down to fire. Say what's real, make fears take a seat. Unconventional wisdom, dancing on your feet.